Good afternoon to all, and welcome to the third day of the 3-day training program on risk assessment and disaster management in coastal areas. I'm Dr. Chanda Berde, Assistant Professor at Goa University and one of the program coordinators of this training program, here to give you a recap of yesterday's program. After the welcome address by Mr. Vivek Kumar of NIDM, we had two sessions. The first session was by Professor Yunkar, Dean, School of Earth, Ocean and Atmospheric Sciences, Goa University, who spoke on the topic Impact of Human Interference on Marine Biodiversity, where he emphasized on anthropogenic activities leading to marine pollution, ballast activity, overfishing, as a result of which we have fish reduction, changes in biodiversity, food webs being affected, eventually leading to biogenic disasters. The second session was by Dr. Veera Brahmachari of Krishna University, Andhra Pradesh, on the topic Mangroves for Coastal Resilience Against Natural Disasters. He gave an overview of the mangrove ecology, human existence, and in the prevention of disasters. With numerous examples, he explained the necessity to increase mangrove cover as part of preparedness for the coastal disasters. The program was concluded with vote of thanks given by myself. I now request Ms. Shipra Das, NIDM, and the moderator for today's program to deliver the welcome address for today's gathering and carry out further proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Shipra.
Thank you so much, Chanda, ma'am. Very good afternoon to you, all the respected dignitaries, esteemed panelists, participants, and on behalf of the National Institute of Disaster Management, I welcome you all to this last day of 3 days online training program on risk assessment and disaster management in coastal areas, organized by the National Institute of Disaster Management in collaboration with the Goa University. And at the outset, I would like to welcome the patrons of this online training program, Shri Rajendra Ratnu, IAS, Executive Director, NIDM, and Professor Hari Lal Menon, Vice Chancellor, Goa University. I take this opportunity to welcome the conveners, Professor Santosh Kumar, Professor and Head, Governance and Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction and Disaster Response and Recovery, NIDM. And I also welcome the convener, Dr. Aftab A. Khan, Program Director, Marine Science Program, Goa University. I'm delighted to inform that we are very much grateful to have a diverse group of participants joining us from across the country, and we encourage you all to take the advantage of this opportunity to learn from our expert speakers. So feel free to ask as many as questions in the chat box, and you can unmute yourself whenever you wish to ask a question after all the sessions are completed, and share your thoughts. So to start with the technical sessions, I would like to call the first speaker of today's session, Mr. Alok Kumar. He'll be speaking on emergency energy preparedness in fire emergencies. Mr. Alok sir is from ONGC, Goa. So welcome, sir. Chanda ma'am, can you please check with Alok sir if he is connected with us?
Yes, we're trying to contact him.
Okay.
He said he'll join in 2 minutes.
Sure. So until he joins, so we can. Yes, sir, Alok sir. Good afternoon,
Yeah,
sir.
am I? Am I audible?
Sir, your voice is not audible actually.
Still I'm
Now it's fine,
unaudible.
sir. Yes, sir.
It's fine now.
So, Alok Kumar, can you hear us? Could you please put your laptop speakers?
Sorry, ma'am. Okay. So am I audible? Yeah, I have switched on the microphone. Yes. Good afternoon. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Surendra.
Sir, we can hear you.
Okay. थोड़ी बैठो ना. So my screen is visible now.
So you can put it on full.
My screen is visible now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it. Could you please put it on full screen mode?
It's a full screen at my end. Layout can be changed at the participants end. Yeah. Is it full screen now?
Presentation in the right at the base.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Your voice is cracking a lot.
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Whether am I
Yes, sir.
audible or not,
It's
just please
visible now. It's
confirm.
visible.
All right, all right. Can I start?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Can I start, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
All right, all right, all right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alok Kumar. I'm Manager Fire Services from ONGC Ipsum, Goa. And from last 12 years, I'm working with ONGC in fire department. And I'm thankful to Goa University and NIDM for giving me this opportunity to take the session of an half an hour. And my topic is emergency preparedness. So from the quote you can see on the screen, there's a quote written, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail, by Benjamin Franklin. So I found that it's a very, very good phrase and we can correlate. If we fail to prepare, we are preparing to fail. So you all would have understood what I mean to say. Moving on to the next slide. What is an emergency? So it's a very simple definition. Emergency is a situation that poses an immediate risk to health, life, property, or environment and needs immediate action. Emergency can come in any form. It can be, it can take a shape of disaster as well. And disasters are classified in different categories. You all might be knowing: natural disasters, man-made disaster, technological disasters. So, moving on next. For an example, emergency is like fire, explosion, decontainment. So आप सभी लोग जानते होंगे फायर क्या होता है, एक्सप्लोजन क्या होता है, decontainment क्या होता है. हम लोग हर दिन अपने घर में एवरी डे इन डे टू डे लाइफ, इन डे टू डे रूटीन, वी आर यूजिंग फायर in different forms, in different sources. Like if we are cooking in our kitchen, we are using the fire, but in a controlled manner. So if that fire goes beyond, then it is a very worrisome situation. Unless it goes beyond control, we don't have to worry about it. So like the explosion can occur with some shock wave and with a lot of heat energy. And a decontainment is like the chemical or any toxic gas. If it is leaked and it is beyond the premises or beyond the container, so it becomes a hazard. And if people are coming in contact, so they can get exposed, and that can simultaneously lead to disaster, lead to life threatening it can be. So why do we need emergency preparedness? It's a very basic thing to save the life, to save the property, asset, and reputation of the organization, save communities and environment. So as I have told that mostly the people have the background of the coastal. I mean, they are working in a coastal department. But what I believe that fire can be created anywhere. Fire is an emergency which can be created anywhere. And whether we are at home or we have gone with our family on a holiday or we have gone to any shopping mall. So fire can happen or can occur anywhere, any place. So we have to be prepared. If we are not prepared, we cannot tackle it, and that can lead to a disaster, and that can lead to the death and the huge death toll as well. So these are the different components. Why do we need emergency preparedness? Saving lives, saving property, asset, reputation, saving communities and environment. What is an objective behind having an emergency preparedness? To control, reduce, or stop the cause. So most of the time, what happens that if an emergency has occurred, if we can control it, or if by some means we have reduced the threat or the severity of that hazard or that emergency, then there would be a less damage to the property, to the human being, to the environment. Or we can also stop the cause. To control the situation and limit the secondary damage. Most of the time, what happens that if any emergency goes beyond control and has taken the shape of the big disaster, so it goes beyond the control or it goes beyond the boundary, and that can also create a secondary damage or secondary fire. Like you can assume, I mean, there was an incident at IOC Jaipur in 2009, where there was a tank, only a single tank was under fire, and when it was not controlled on time, so that led to the multiple tanks under fire. So from one tank it will go to another, and from another to the another tank. So it keeps on going, and there will be a secondary fire as well as secondary damages if we cannot control the situation on time, or we cannot limit the threat or the potential of that emergency. Or continue the operation and recover quickly. The last objective is to continue the operation and recover quickly as early as possible, because if any emergency occurs, it leads to loss of life, property, man hours, and environmental damage. So to sustain once again, or to restore back or to work back again in that scenario or in that environment, we need to continue our operation, and environmental conditions shall be as according to the which meets our living standard. There are 3 steps for emergency preparedness. First thing, we have to assess, then make, then practice. What we have to assess? We have to assess the emergency. What do you understand by assessing the emergency? Let's say we are working in any oil and gas sector, like ONGC is an oil and gas sector company, and we are working in an oil and gas company. So there can be a fire and explosion hazard or a blowout situation. These are the major hazards. So if I am working in an installation, we should first assess that what are the kinds of emergencies can be created. Like if people are working in a high-rise building. So high-rise building will have an, excuse me. So high-rise building will have an emergencies of collapsing the building during any earthquake, or if there is an explosion in any gas cylinder, so that can also collapse. So we have to first assess the scenario, assess the emergencies, that what are the kinds of emergencies that can be created in our premises. Then according to that emergency, we have to make the emergency plan, because different emergencies will have different threats, different nature, or different mitigating measures. So we'll have a different emergency plan to handle it. Then we have to practice. We have to practice, revise, and update our emergency plan. Why to practice? Why do we need to practice? Unless we practice our emergency preparedness, we cannot make it sure that the the plan which we have made, that is very effective or not. Let's say we have assigned some role or responsibilities to the people working in that premises. So if he or she has to perform any task during any emergency, then that person has to practice again and again, so that during any real scenario, that fellow can take right action on right time. Then we have to revise also the emergency preparedness. Like we have added some processes in our installation. Like we were having single oil storage tank. Now we have advanced, or we have expanded the installation facility. Now we are having 2 or 3 tanks. So now the threat has increased. So according to the change or the modification, the emergency has changed. So we have to accordingly revise our emergency preparedness. Then we have to update it. We also have to update the plan, so that one can be assured that if anything occurs in a premises, then on time we can tackle it and we can save life, property, and environment. All potential emergencies shall be identified and ranked using risk matrix. So I'm sure that you all might be knowing what is a risk matrix. So based on the risk matrix, we can identify the different kind of emergencies, and based on its frequency and severity, we can rank them accordingly. What is an ERP? Emergency Response Plan. Can anyone from your side can tell me what is an ERP? Anyone in the chat or would like to use the mic and can say, because from last 10 minutes I'm only speaking. Anyone from the participants would like to say? Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyone from the participants would like to speak about ERP or emergency response plan? Yeah, a set of procedures to be followed in case of emergency. Very good, ma'am. The action taken at the time of disaster. Basically, emergency response plan is a planning one has to execute during an emergency. But ERP should also have the roles and responsibilities defined for all the individuals. Like, let's say, total 91 participants have been added in this webinar. So let's assume that 91 are working in the same premises, and if something goes wrong, so all 91 will have the different roles and responsibilities. So everyone has to execute their own roles and responsibilities during any emergencies. Otherwise, what will happen? I can also do the same thing. Another fellow will also do the same thing voluntarily in respect to mitigate the hazard or the disaster. And there will be a everyone will converge, and there will be haphazard. I mean, they will do all the activities in a haphazard manner. So the roles and responsibilities should be clear. That if there is a fire, then the fire trained person will only use the fire extinguishers. Other will evacuate the building, or one will immediately inform the fire station, nearby fire station. So there are the set of plans, and based on the set of plans, the roles and responsibilities will be defined in an ERP. So ERP tells about the plan or the action plan what we have prepared at our own end, and according to the plan, the roles and responsibilities should be defined. Moving on next. So that is what written on the screen. All possible emergencies, consequences, required actions, written procedures, and the resource available. So ERP should have all the possible emergencies. We cannot tell that there will not be an earthquake. Like we are in Goa. So based on the environmental factor or based on the ecology, there can be n number of disasters based on the industry setup in Goa. There can be n number of emergencies, like what has happened few months back in an paint company in Verna. So we cannot say that there will not be any emergencies. So all the emergencies will have their different result, different mitigating measures. So it will also have a different consequences. So based on the consequences, we need to have different action plan. So all these things should be written in our ERP. and required resources to mitigate the hazard should be also different. So we should have all the sets of resources what we are going to use in emergency should be well written in a prescribed manner. We should also have the detailed contact list of the emergency response personnel, including their cell phone numbers, alternate contact details, their duties and responsibilities. Like in disaster management plan, we have a set of plans, and based on the set of plan, there is a different emergency contact numbers, like emergency contact numbers of the dignitaries, like district magistrate, who is the incident commander in any offsite emergency situation. There should also be the escape route plan. Can anyone tell me what is an escape route plan? आप में से कोई बता सकते हैं escape route plan क्या होता है? What is an escape route plan? कोई बोलना चाहेंगे escape route plan क्या होता है? Yeah, very well said, Miss Nayak. Evacuation plan for the people or the path to be followed during any emergency. Emergency evacuation plan. Basically, escape route plan tells your position where you are standing during an emergency and what path has to be followed from your position to the nearest safe exit. Let us assume that you were in a hotel on holidays, and all of a sudden there is a siren blown off, and you have to evacuate that building. So you will run here and there. Unless you are knowing about the evacuation plan, you cannot reach to the fire exit. So you will always find an evacuation plan, escape route plan, pasted on the back side of the door of your of your room. So you can refer it. Actually, I am having cold today. So that escape route plan can be followed during any emergency, and it tells your position from that position where you have to go to find out the nearest exit, and that will be followed to evacuate that building. So escape route plan is very important thing, and one has to always refer if you have checked into any unknown place like high-rise building where evacuation is a big task during an emergency. Sorry. Just a minute. We should always practice, revise, and update ERP. So you can see in that picture, these are the small school-going children. Earlier, I was working in ONGC Mehsana asset. For 8 years, I've worked in Gujarat. So there was a nearby school in the Subhashan area. So we had conducted a mock drill, an evacuation drill. So you can see the small children, they are following a line and they are evacuating. So if we practice a drill and if we conceptualize the thing like that, there is a fire drill or evacuation drill in the childhood days of the student, then if they grow up and they become old, so that thing will remain in their mind for a longer run. And that will also increase their confidence, their skill, that what they have to do during an emergency if it happens in their school or any high-rise building. So it gives a good confidence if you practice it regularly. So ERP shall be revised upon noticing any shortcoming, like say we have conducted a mock drill. And after mock drill, there shall be a debriefing session. Debriefing session includes an observation. There will be an observer who will be looking after the people response, that at what time people have responded, at what time First responders have responded. First responders like ambulance, police, emergency and fire vehicle. So they will write down each and everything. So if there are any shortcomings, then that has to be noted down and that has to be rectified in the next fire drill so that it can be improved upon in the future. So ERP shall be updated upon noticing any changes in the system. So like I said in the earlier slide, that if there is a change in the system, like we have included the more risk, like we were having only single AC in our complete building. Now we have used the centralized AC unit. So that will have the more risk. Or we have included the many combustible material and we have eventually increased the fire load. So that will change the system. So based on that risk, our emergency response plan will change because that will have a lot of resources involved if there is any fire or explosion. Moving on next, this is a picture of a fire incident that has happened in India in May 2022. So basically, you all can see this is a building fire. But can anyone from your side tell me that which incident I am talking about from this picture? आप में से कोई बता सकते हैं कि कौन से फायर इंसिडेंट की मैं जिक्र कर रहा हूँ या which incident I am talking about from this picture? I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the bad throat I'm having. Anyone would like to say which incident I'm talking about from this picture? So this is a fire incident that has occurred in Delhi. This is a Mundka fire. A 4-story building in Mundka caught fire on 13th May 2022, and that resulted into 27 casualties. So there is a reason why I'm showing you this picture. Every time, today also we all have gathered here and we are talking a lot about emergency preparedness. So don't you think that that's just an year back, almost a year back, they were not having any emergency preparedness or India was not so much aware about emergency preparedness? I don't think so. We all are very much aware today in an online media. We are more aware about the things, about the do's and don'ts. But still, this kind of incidents are occurring. We also have an emergency preparedness plan. Still, we are having a 27 deaths in such incident. That thoughts are not decreasing. It is increasing day by day. So from this picture, I would like to convey that we have a lot of safety things on paper. We are practicing also, but we are lacking somewhere. We are lacking in terms of like we are not propagating the knowledge what we have. We are not wearing the mask, wearing the nearby villagers people, and due to this the only few category of people are getting awareness on such subjects like emergency preparedness. And but we can see in such incidents most of the people would not be having any knowledge of the emergency preparedness or any awareness about how to use fire extinguishers or anything related to any emergencies. So their thoughts are increasing. So what I would like to convey that people should practice as well as they should try to aware or sensitize the nearby people in their community so that we can create a country which will be a fire incident free or emergency free India we can think upon or we can imagine upon. So with this, I thank you. I know that there was a lot of glitch from my end due to my bad throat. So thank you, and I think that with the short interval, I would have conveyed little about emergency preparedness, and you would have get a little about what preparedness you should have and what are the preparedness plan and what are the things included in the preparedness plan. So thank you so much, and thank you for giving this opportunity. Anyone would like to ask any question? You are most welcome. We'll take a Q&A session for 5 minutes. Then
Thank you so much, sir. And if anyone has any questions, yes, sir said that he is willing to answer. So you can raise your hands or just put it in the chat box so we can take that. Sir, I think we should wait for more time so they all can think of some questions if they have any. And
Okay, if anyone would like to ask any question regarding the operation of fire extinguisher, or I would like to ask a question from you guys that whether have you used any kind of fire extinguisher in your life? Whether have you encountered any fire incident and you were you tried to extinguish any fire with the fire extinguishers or not? Have you tried to use fire extinguisher? I am sure that you have seen the fire extinguishers. आप सभी लोग फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स देखे होंगे, बट आपको कभी मौका मिला है फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स चलाने का या किसी भी इमरजेंसी में किसी प्रकार का मिटिगेटिंग आपने मेजर्स लिए हों या प्रोसीजर्स किए हों? I have received a question that how often fire training given for NSS and NCC? And the second question is, since older building plans do not have present day restrictions for fire management, what precautions may be taken? Okay, so I'll take the first question by Dr. Charles Christopher Ras. Thank you, sir, for this question. Basically, I'm working in a training department, and ONGC has a training institute at Goa. It's an Institute of Petroleum Safety, Health and Environment Management, IPSHO. And we are conducting training on HSC, Health, Safety, and Environment, and I'm looking after the fire section. So the periodicity of the training program depends upon the policy of the organization. Like in my organization, we are having the periodicity of 4 years. Like if any newcomer has undergone the training program, then after 4 years they will have the refresher course. But for all the newcomer people, there will be a training program for 1 day. They all have to undergo 1 day training program before going to the field. So this is what happening in ONGC, and about NSS and NCC, I'm not much aware. So sorry for that. And the next question is, since older building plans do not have present day restrictions for fire management, what precautions may be taken? I would like to say one thing. Everyone has their own roles and responsibilities. Like every time we cannot tell that the building is old, there are these many things lacking. So at least the basic awareness if we have, like मान लीजिए मैं किसी unknown place पे जाता हूँ, so I'll always look for the fire exit किधर है. अगर मुझे fire exit नहीं मालूम, किसी प्रकार की emergency होगी, so I will be stuck up and I will run here and there. So during that time I cannot say that मुझे training नहीं मिला था, I was not knowing fire exit किधर है. So a basic एक responsibilities हर एक individual में होनी चाहिए कि हमें अपना लाइफ, दिस इज माई लाइफ एंड आई हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ इट. सो बेस्ड ऑन दिस हमें अपनी सुरक्षा करने के लिए बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड नॉलेज जरूरी है. जैसे कि फायर इवैक्यूएशन प्लान हो गया, इमरजेंसी इवैक्यूएशन प्लान हो गया, फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स है. अगर फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स अगर आपके आसपास है, सो थोड़ा 1 डे का ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम आप अपने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं. एंड इफ यू बिकम एबल एनफ टू यूज इट, so at the very early stage fire can be doused and it will not grow and become disaster. So basic training program should be conducted at all level of organization, and everyone should undergo at least 1 day of training program. So based on this हम लोग अपनी preparedness बढ़ा सकते हैं, because training is a part of emergency preparedness, because we are going to upskill and हमारी capabilities building होती है. So in this way we can basically training is also a part of a precaution. Like precaution नहीं बोलूँगा, but basically it's prevention भी नहीं, precaution भी नहीं है, mitigation का part है. Emergency होने के बाद जो भी चीज करते हैं, we are just trying to control the severity and the damage loss. उसके पहले का part precaution and prevention है. So older buildings में हम लोग frequently basis पे electrical wires इनका load test करा सकते हैं. जो भी हम इलेक्ट्रिकल इक्विपमेंट यूज कर रहे हैं उनको चेक कराना चाहिए from the certified supervisor so that कि उनके fault की वजह से बिल्डिंग में आग ना लगे. So these are the things. और जब भी हम कुछ मॉडिफिकेशन कर रहे हैं, मॉडिफिकेशन करने के बाद अगर आपका रिस्क बढ़ रहा है तो फायर सर्विसेज का हेल्प लेना चाहिए. और आपका अगर एनओसी रिक्वायर्ड है सो एनओसी शुड बी आई मीन taken from the nearest fire station or the fire department. So in this way we can prevent the fire or to stop the fire from occurring. Any more questions? I can see Aftab Saab have joined.
Yeah.
Sir,
Thanks, Mr.
sir, today I was
Kumar.
not feeling well and I have a bad throat. So
I could get it.
I'm
I
sorry
could
about
get it. Still then you made it. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Any
Shukra?
questions?
Sir, we have a participant, Shrikant Mira. He has raised his hand for a question. So maybe we can take the last question from him and then move ahead for the second session.
Yes, ma'am.
Mitra sir, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sir, Mr. Alok, thank you for your presentation. I would like to know about there are different types of fires created by different substances, like biomass firewood, or sometimes gas, and sometimes chemical fire, sometimes mainly electricity. Electricity firing is we are almost we are used to see in many places. So of these kinds of different types of fires, so during those situations, what could be the this emergency response plan, or what could be the substances we can make use for kind of a first aid? So immediately to close the fire and save the people.
Thank you, sir. It's a very good question, I would say. Basically, based on the burning material, there are different categories of fire. Like class A fire, if the burning material is of solid nature, if it forms ashes after burning, we call it as a class A fire, like paper, wood, and etc. Similarly, we have a class B fire if the burning material is of liquid in nature, like petroleum product like diesel and petrol. If it is of gases in nature like LPG, butane, methane, if it burns, then we call it as a class A fire. And if the burning material is an active metal like sodium and potassium, and if it burns at the higher temperature, we call it as a class D fire. So these are the different categories of fire. So based on the different categories of fire, we have a different extinguishing media. Like we use water to extinguish in class A fire. We use mechanical foam to extinguish class B fire. We use dry chemical powder to extinguish class C fire. And we use dry powders to extinguish class D fire. There are different kinds of electrical equipment. So let's say if any electrical equipment is under fire, so it is a very special kind of fire. If we are using water on electrical equipment, we can get shock. So to douse any kind of electrical equipment fire, we need to have CO2, carbon dioxide gas. So based on the extinguishing media, we have a different types of extinguishers. If we fill water in an equipment, fire equipment, and we will give it a name as a water type fire extinguisher, like mechanical foam type fire extinguishers, dry chemical powder type fire extinguishers, dry powders type fire extinguishers, and CO2 type fire extinguishers. So these fire extinguishers are the first line of defense. So whenever there is a fire, the people working nearby are the first responders. We as a firefighter will come later on. So बहुत बार क्या होता है कि कोई भी चीज रेड से पेंटेड है like this. If it is painted with red, a basic perception people have in their mind on their mind that firefighters के use करने का है. This is not of our use. So people what they do, they take one step back and they wait for firefighters to come, and जब firefighters आएंगे तो fire extinguishers use करेंगे. No, this is not like the thing. These are the part of emergency preparedness. All these equipments have been deployed for the use of the public or the people working nearby or around. उन्हीं को यूज करना है. इसलिए फायर फाइटर्स नहीं भी है तब भी आपको इतना कैपेबल एनफ बनाना है फ्रॉम ट्रेनिंग, रिगरस ट्रेनिंग, फ्रॉम मॉक ड्रिल, सो दैट कि कुछ इमरजेंसी आने पे आप इन सारे इक्विपमेंट्स को यूज कर सकें. So these are the first line of defense. If anything goes wrong, single एक spark भी है, smoke भी है, that can lead to fire or any big disaster. So immediately suitable fire extinguisher use करिए. अगर water use करना है तो paper route वगैरह ऐसे fire पे use करिए, electrical equipment पे नहीं. So suitable fire extinguishers को use करना है within less time so that you can give the first step to the fire and will not let it grow to the disaster shape. So I think I have answered your questions. कुछ और पूछ सकते हैं?
Sir, one more thing I would like to get a clarification. Nowadays, for these all electric battery operated vehicles, so mostly they are using this lithium ion based batteries. So that we are also watching many newses that catching fire while charging or sometimes on the road. So with these kind of substances like lithium ion, what could be the immediate action we have to take if we find something like lithium ion firing?
Sir, basically there are few things like chemistry behind this जो मैं जानता हूँ. Mostly अगर कोई लीक है या डैमेज हुआ है बैटरी को, so एक थर्मल रनअवे होता है. तो बेस्ड ऑन दैट उसमें मल्टीपल एक्सप्लोजन होगा लिथियम आयन सेल में. सो अगर आपके पास इलेक्ट्रिक स्कूटर है या इलेक्ट्रिक कार है, अभी किसी कारण से यू हैव हिट इट समवेयर, सो गराज में रखने से पहले आप उसको इमीडिएटली जो भी नियर बाय आपका सर्विस सेंटर है ना, वहाँ पर जरूर दिखाएं. अगर बैटरी लीक हुआ है तो वहाँ पे मल्टीपल एक्सप्लोजन हो सकते हैं कि हम अपने घर में चले गए, सो रहे हैं और हमारे गराज में एक्सप्लोजन हो रहा है. तो बेसिक ये चीज जरूर माइंड में रखिएगा, कहीं पे भी गाड़ी अगर लगी है, किसी कारण से हिट हुआ है, अगर बैटरी डैमेज होने का चांस है तो इमीडिएटली यू शुड हैंड ओवर द व्हीकल टू द नियर बाय सर्विस स्टेशन. लेट्स से यू हैव नॉट हैंडेड ओवर इट एंड आपके आग लग गई, तो आप पानी यूज नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि थर्मल रनअवे रिएक्शन हो रहा है. वाटर ऐड करने से आपका एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन हो सकता है और आग बड़ी हो सकती है. तो इस कंडीशन में एक केमिकल है और उसका एक बॉटल आता है F500. आप गूगल करेंगे ना तो देखेंगे F500 करके, F500. So F500 chemical can be used in such kinds of fire in lithium ion cell batteries. और हम लोग एज अ फायर फाइटर हम लोग के पास में एक अल्कोहल रेजिस्टेंट फोम होता है, ARF बोलते हैं उसको. तो अल्कोहल रेजिस्टेंट फोम कैन आल्सो बी यूज्ड इन इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल इफ इट इज अंडर फायर, बिकॉज डे बाय डे टेक्नोलॉजीज अपग्रेड हो रही है और विद इन 1 ईयर और 2 इयर्स में हम लोग के आसपास मैक्सिमम जो व्हीकल्स दिखेंगे वो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल दिखने वाले हैं. सो वेरी राइटली यू हैव क्वेश्चन सर कि हमें अपनी प्रिपेयर्डनेस बढ़ानी है, नहीं तो हम यूज तो जरूर करेंगे टेक्नोलॉजीज को बट एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी डैमेज एंड ह्यूमन लाइफ डैमेज करेंगे. सो कंफर्ट मिल रहा है, कंफर्ट के अकॉर्डिंग हम लोग को अपनी प्रिपेयर्डनेस बढ़ानी चाहिए so that we are always prepared for any kind of emergencies. I hope sir I have answered your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for answering all the questions so in detail and patiently. So thanks so much. And for the next session, I would like to call Dr. Aftab Khan, Program Director, Marine Science Program, Goa University.
Thank you. Just a second. Before leaving, I would like to thank Dr. Aftab Ahmed Khan sahab for giving me this opportunity and to Team NIDM for giving me this opportunity. And I'm very lucky enough to interact with such dignitaries in the participants. And I convey my sincere thanks and best wishes to all of you from the side of ONGC Epsom. Do well and take care of your health. Best wishes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we would like to call Aftab sir, Dr. Aftab sir, to speak on cyclones and coastal hazards. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shipra. Shipra, can you see me?
Yes, sir, you're visible. Yes, sir.
Presentation?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Presentation is visible. Shall I go in the slide? Okay.
Slide mode, yes.
Yeah. Just a minute. Something. Okay. It's okay, Shipra?
Yes, sir, it's fine and visible and you're...
Shuru kare?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Shipra Das. for this wonderful coordination. Okay, and greetings from all from Goa University and also from NIDM. Greetings also from my colleagues who are assisting me, and of course from my personal side. My talk now, I will go by. Just a minute. Yeah, this is to Chanda or Nikita. Can you please come to my room, please? Dr. Chanda or Dr. Nikita,
Yes, sir.
can you please come to my room? Yeah.
Yes, she's coming.
Yeah. I want to get in the full screen mode over here. Yeah. But I would like to. I still will not. But I will not be able to see those windows now. Okay, you can call her. That can start. All right. Yeah, yeah. There is a window sharing now. Yeah, I think start. Yeah, this will be done in due course of time. Now, today's talk, my knowledge which I'm going to share with you, basically, I have divided it into two aspects of it. One is we really need to understand the Earth atmospheric system, and within there's just a 3-day program or a 3 years program. That's just not possible. Nevertheless, we need to have a glimpse of what is there, giving full justification of the time for which we make a program. And in the yeah, yeah, with an Earth atmosphere system, yeah, please go. Just hold on.
It's full screen. Okay, you can continue talking.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Nikita. Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is full screen mode now. Ms. Shipra Das is full screen, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now, so I've divided my whole talk into basically two parts. One, we need to particularly look at one answer. Perhaps we don't do that. Question is, after all, if a cyclone forms, right? What is that Earth atmosphere system achieves? Okay, so if we try to look at that, that means we need to know what's the reason behind cyclones. I am not talking about the factors responsible for cyclones, but what is ultimately achieved by Earth atmospheric system. Perhaps if we try to understand this, then we will have a better sense of what these systems are, why do they happen, and what we need to do. One in a shorter plan, term plan, and one on a long term plan. Okay. And this cyclone, as we know, okay, that this is a system which has got a massive energy. Okay, it's really massive energy it has. Anyone amongst participant? Okay, this is afternoon time. I do remember, I do know for heavy lunch, this is a tough time. But I would like interaction from you also. So you can just stop me as I do it, or you can do it in the later question answer session. Okay, so now the question for us is, from where does this energy comes? All right, so that we need to really understand. If you look at the Earth over here, okay, and let's say we are in a space and we put a disk around the Earth, all right, a disk we put, and we block all that radiation that falls on the Earth. All right, so we will get something around 1,368 watts per meter square. That's an annual spatial average. And this energy, all right, it falls and gets distributed on the entire surface of the sphere. So surface of the sphere is 4 pi r square, and that area of the circle is pi r square, disk is pi r square. So therefore, we divide it, we get 342 watts per meter square, something around that energy we get. That's an average energy which we get. So out of this 342 or 341.3, some energy is reflected by clouds, some by surface, some is absorbed by atmosphere, some is absorbed by the earth and the ocean and the plants on the earth. Okay, then because earth also gets heated above 0 degree Kelvin, so it also starts emitting radiation, some of which move out to the space where our satellite sensors we program the sensors to operate on those escaping radiations, and then also some sensors are planned on this blocked radiations. All right, so some energy is over here, then that's absorbed by atmosphere. Then the atmosphere is above 0 degree Kelvin, it sends it back also and sends to space also. Then you have the thermal energy, that is sensible heat flux. So because of contact, and then there is something called latent heat flux, which is associated with evaporation. So to make it clear that there are regions on the Earth's surface which has got a higher energy density, while those the polar regions, there are also regions which has got lesser density. So as a result of this, the amount of light reaching the surface over here is almost twice that at the polar region on an annual average. But sometimes over the polar regions it is 0 whenever there is a winter over there. So this differential heating to different extent depends now on curvature effect, on thickness of the atmosphere, on angle of incidence, as well as on albedo. So all these factors, albedo is basically reflectivity of the Earth, which is 96% at the poles, because if there is a snow present, and otherwise it is for Earth it is 4%. Looking at these radiations further, so I spoke to you about these spatial variations in the radiations. Come back to the temporal side. Let's look at northern hemisphere. We are in the northern hemisphere. So in the northern hemisphere, what we find is that during summer, okay, right, the energy received is more, energy received is more. A dip occurs, and here it is furthermore. I will come to this little later. But let's look at winter. What happens? Winter in the month of December, all right, so something around 21st of December, what we find that energy reaching the northern hemisphere is less and less, and beyond 63 you have nothing. So if I try to summarize both this, that's this seasonal effect on account of tilt of the earth and earth's revolution around the sun, what we find is that the summer hemisphere, that's northern hemisphere, whenever there is a summer, gets more light, while in the southern hemisphere, when there is a summer in the southern hemisphere gets more light. So if I take on an annual scale, so annual average I get, what does it tell? That there are latitudes where the energy is high, and there are latitudes of the polar side, energy is less. Barsha, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. So I said there are some regions, all right, where energy is more and some energy is less. Now, Earth itself is Earth and atmosphere itself is above 0 degree Kelvin. So what we find is that Earth also emits radiation, and the warmer areas emit more radiations. So you have polar region with lesser emissions, and the temperate and tropical ones have got comparatively higher radiations. Earth's surface is have temperature generally above the air temperature, okay, the surface of the Earth, whether ocean or atmosphere. Of course, there are no ocean, there are exceptions because of the ocean currents. So we find that you also have sensible heat flux, that's the Earth losing heat to the atmosphere. Then there is also loss of energy in the form of a latent heat from the Earth and ocean, or we call it as a lower boundary of atmosphere. Okay, there is evapotranspiration, there is a lot of the evaporation taking place on the ocean surface. And on account of all these higher temperatures, okay, if I add up all this, all right, what I get is that there is net radiation surplus in the lower latitude. Schematically, it is produced here. Okay, some literature will give us 42 degrees also, but around 35 to 43 degrees centigrade, we find that energy is surplus and deficient energy at the polar region. So as a result of this unequal distribution of energy, we would expect the latitudes which are surplus energy should go on heating consecutively, and the polar region should go on cooling consecutively. But that's not happening to a large extent. That yes, some amelioration effect is there. Why this? How does this is achieved? It is achieved by transfer of heat from the energy surplus region to energy deficient region. Who does it? Okay, let's look at it. So now the energy surplus region produces this kind of a sea surface temperature figure. This kind of, now this is the latest map which is available as of today morning. Okay, data from NOAA. Okay, and it's available. This is the latest map of daily sea surface temperature as of today morning. Okay, so what do we find? Very warm areas in Western Pacific. Okay, fine over here. Then there are cooler areas here. Cooler areas over here. Okay, in the polar region there are cooler areas, isn't it? I move on. So the Earth is heated up. It's warm. All right. So what happens to the outgoing long wave radiation? You can see here. All right, northern hemisphere is still having larger areas where the emissions are high. All right, the landmass shows high rate of emission. The radiation that goes out from the Earth atmospheric system, okay, out to the space is higher in the northern hemisphere, primarily because of landmass. Now this shows a strong seasonal effect, okay, because of the sun's movement from north to south. Apart from this, there is, we call it sensible heat flux over here, because of the Earth and ocean getting heated by solar radiations. We the air over it, okay, also getting heated. Okay, now you can see this in the month of January. What happens to air temperature? Air temperature, sun is in the southern hemisphere. There is more cooling in the northern pole. Look at July. There is a more cooling in the southern, while warmer regions are more in the northern hemisphere. Now, what impact does this have? This has a very significant effect on our monsoons. And monsoons, okay. Now, if you look at the Tibet is around 4.5 to 5 kilometers, okay, above. Also, I believe there will be many people. Now, just think of your October month. October month over here, monsoon ends, okay, in month of September, October, okay, and November. These 2 months, the sun is in the southern hemisphere, still at 15 degrees 30 minutes. We are in Goa. We get a very harsh sunlight. Okay, that's because the atmosphere is now dry. Water vapor is not there. Now think of month of June, July, when sun is in the northern hemisphere. We don't get that harsh sunlight. That's because clouds are present. So it's very clear that atmospheric interference leads to kind of a blocking of the incoming solar radiations. Now, okay, when you look at the pressure variations with height, at every 5 kilometers, or more accurately 5.5 kilometers, the pressure reduces by 50%. So if surface pressure is actually at mean sea level, it is 1013 millibars. Consider for your approximation 1000 millibars. So now at 5.5 kilometers, the pressure becomes 500 millibars. In other words, the atmosphere is clear by 50%. Now I spoke to you about the month of October and month of June. Now the atmosphere becomes just dry, okay, not getting thinner by 50%, but just dry. we find that harsh solar radiations. But and over here in Tibet, now Tibet is over here. Okay, so over here, what we find is that atmosphere is half of the atmosphere is not there. So very strong heating occurs over Tibetan plateau. That develops a low, which is very vital for occurrence of monsoons. So you also, I spoke to you that sensible heat flux, that there is this form of energy. Then you also have a latent heat flux, right? From the oceans and from the plant, altogether 505,000 cubic kilometer of water gets evaporated. And of this, basically around 85 to 87% is from the oceans. The question is, why this is important for us? Why this is important for us? Now look at over here. Just when the phase of H2O changes from solid to liquid, it takes 80 calories. And let us say from here to 30 degrees centigrade and 30 degrees to gaseous state, it takes 540 plus 70 calories. So 710 calories it takes. So that means with the change of phase of H2O, all right, there is a strong energy associated with it. And look at this. This air at 30 degrees centigrade, okay, can hold up to 30 grams of water vapor, I mean to say. All right. So if this water vapor, you allow it to condense, then it will raise the temperature of that particular the parcel of air by 64 degrees centigrade. Now, what is its role? You look at this region. All right. The winds blow over here. There is a lot of evaporation. The winds on both the hemisphere meet at ITCZ, and then the air rises up. This leads to condensation, and condensation leads to release of latent heat of condensation. And when this happens, all right, motion is set. So this first Hadley cell motion, okay, the Hadley cell motion is strongly driven by this latent heat of condensation. So I come back over here to our latent heat. My time's nearing. So overall, what we find is that certain regions have got surplus energy, while the polar regions are deficient in energy. So this is the mechanism. This one. This will generally result in a unicellular circulation. In one hemisphere, there is one cell. But however, because of Coriolis force, what we find is that there is three circular circulation. Now, what is Coriolis force? If someone wants to know more, do send an email to me. I shall explain to you, or we can have a Gmail. Now there is time constraint, so I'll have a little difficulty. So three cellular circulation we say, and not only that, we also have this land and ocean mass unequally distributed. As a result of all this, we find a different pattern. I will just take you to some animations over here. Okay. Yeah, you are able to see this? Yeah, it has come. Now, what do we find? Okay, winds, this is over Bambalim, Goa University is over here. All right, so winds are blowing from the sea. Look at Delhi, what is happening? The winds are blowing from northwest. These winds are very hot. That's the reason weather right now, this is the scenario right now, weather of Delhi is hot. Okay, so just wanted to bring it to your notice that this land mass, ocean, unequal distribution leads to different temperature zones, and that results in the pressure, and pressure results, differential pressure results in winds. We go back to our this one. Yeah. Yeah. So these winds which blow over the oceans, all right, they also result in ocean currents. They also result in ocean currents. So we find that there is three cellular circulation. Okay, I will not dwell much on this. Not only that, okay, because of this differential heating associated with these seasons, the waters in the polar region sink, and then they move towards the low latitude. Okay, Now, waters in the Antarctic region sink during their winter, or waters around Greenland sinks during their winter. Okay, that means northern hemisphere winter, or rather, waters in the hemisphere in the polar region would sink in their respective winters. Not all could be covered, okay, because these are many more aspects. So ultimately, what we find is that you have something called a warmer seas, all right, and these warmer seas are associated with the places where cyclones are formed. This terminology of cyclone is more of for Indian and in southwestern Pacific. Somewhere it is also called as typhoons, hurricanes, also okay, Cordonazo, okay, Willy Willy. There are also local names. If going by this the effect of seasons, you can see here in the northern hemisphere, June, July, August, September, they are the months where cyclones are more frequent. In southern hemisphere, again, you will find it in the month of October, November, December. So basically, October, November, December is and January is summer there in the southern hemisphere. So during the southern hemisphere, you find this that the cyclones are more. So this meeting of the winds sometimes is not at the equator, and it's just moves okay, away from the equator. And this is so this sea surface temperature alone is not a criteria for formation of cyclone. Of course, it has to be more than 2.5 in the upper 50 meters. A lot of energy can be provided to cyclone. And energy to the cyclone comes basically in two forms. One is sensible heat flux, which I spoke to you, and one is latent heat flux, wherein H2O evaporates, acquires a lot of energy, and gets into atmospheric system. It rises up, okay, the cyclone, then it condenses, right? And on condensation, latent heat of condensation and release, buoyancy-driven forcing gets initiated. The air moves up, becoming lighter because of this heating, and then the air from the surface is sucked. Okay. Now we also find that the relative humidity has to be high, vertical shear parameters has to be high. So with this, what we find is that that there is the warmer seas produces the cyclones. Right. This is one unique phenomena wherein all four stages of a cyclone were present in one satellite image. So there is this cyclone. The effect of the structure of the cyclone, the properties of a cyclone is very important if you really want to minimize the damage caused by the cyclones. So you also need to know which are the months so that you are prepared to face the cyclones. The January, they are rare in month of January and March in Bay of Bengal. Okay, basically they occur in October, November, all right, on one side, and April and May on the other side of the monsoons. All right, so these are a little bit more detailed. The cyclones generally they move poleward, but there are unique cases. Cyclone has moved equatorward also. Cyclones generally don't move across the Indian peninsula, but there are examples of cyclone moving across the peninsula. All right, cyclones generally move towards Gujarat coast, but there are cyclones moving towards to the west. Okay, so now question is now comes important part which I will take. All right, so what causes the destruction from the cyclone? Basically, destruction occurs on three. It can be considered also the fourth one, which is a derivative of the third one. So cyclones are associated with high pressures. Subsequently there are winds. These winds blow very strongly over the oceans. They cause strong waves and push the waters towards the coast. Okay. Now this you can see this one, right? If you take the four quadrants of cyclone, the northwestern quadrant is the most dangerous. It pushes the water towards the coast, and when this happens, all right, there is a storm surge over here. There is a storm surge. So you have this pushing of water. Then there are waves. Because the push of water is more, the waves becomes big because of the forcings of the wind, and then the inundation of low-lying areas occur. Then there's important aspect. Now let's look at this particular cyclone. This cyclone, when it is over here, it will generate currents which are equatorward. Because of Coriolis force, this equatorward current produces a kind of a flow towards the coast. Now there is a surge because of this wind stress. Right, this is one part. Second thing, then there is a addition to this surge because of this coastal longshore currents, right? And when the waves which are formed because of the winds they approach the coast at an angle but not perpendicular, then what is called as rip currents develop. These rip currents are very, very devastating. In normal times when there is no cyclone also, this leads to deaths of people on the coast, okay, on the beaches. So therefore, what is it's important that we should know the position of the cyclone vis-a-vis position of the place, right? And then accordingly plan and be prepared for the impact of the cyclone, right? So this is an important aspect. Now, destruction of the cyclones are also is caused because of winds, all right? Rainfall, not only in the coastal region, rainfall could also occur in the interiors, and because of the rivers, it could lead to flooding, right? Then the damage of the cyclone is caused by lightning, as well as because of strong rains, the landslides. Now, if you look at the cyclone, and in Cyclone Floyd, aircraft was made to pass through the eye of the cyclone, the central part of the cyclone. Remember, central part of the cyclone has got very less wind. It is a very calm region. It's also a cloud-free region. And on both the sides of this eye, the winds are strongest. The highest winds are there on both sides of the eye. So whenever a cyclone passes by, don't immediately get outside, because it could be you could be in the eye, okay? And next phase of wrath of the cyclone you could be facing. There are various damages associated with the cyclone. Then these are the threats which we face, human beings face, basically life faces, right, because of the effect of cyclone. There are too many of them and too short of time. Okay, this is Katrina. This is eye of the cyclone. Strongest wind, strongest precipitation occur over here. Okay, then most important part after the cyclone, this rescue. All right, then there is relief. And now question to us is, what is the Earth creating cyclone? Cyclones is a mechanism to quickly pass on surplus energy associated with global warming. Now, we only need to understand the sea level was around 110 meters below what it is now. Okay, so that's because there is always a processes. Now, I want to tell you, there are always processes of mass and energy exchange between each of these spheres. All right, and energy exchange between the Earth atmosphere system and the outer space. What we have altered is the fluxes of mass and energy in each of the spheres. As a result of this, all right, we have altered the concentrations, okay, or percentage coverage of these spheres. And on account, this is nothing but your climate change. This is your climate change. So this is from mass and energy perspective, entire climate change I have tried to present to you in just this particular figure. So in the case of a cyclone, in case of emergency, what are the things you need to keep? Yeah, this is battery operated torch. All those things are there. Yeah, you need to keep you need to have pure water. So a bit of chlorine tablets are also required. And of course, nowadays nobody loses their companion. That's 24/7 companion, your mobile phone, because you need to contact people. All right. Remain yourself safe from rumors. That's also important. Furthermore, further to that, what is required? We need a GIS-based online portal of inventory of all those members that are separated and location of them and their relief camps. All right. This task of relief is done by a National Disaster Relief Force. Now we have this, but nation itself, government itself cannot attend to catastrophic events. So therefore, citizens' participation is a must. So therefore, we need to have those groups of volunteers in the disaster-prone area. This groups should be mobilized at periodic times. There should be special camps for, if there is a cyclone, there should be special camps for special cases like women, children, okay, all right, elderly. Then there should be task force for special security of orphans, all right, and children and ladies, because human trafficking is a real problem, and that has occurred during 1999 super cyclone in Orissa. There has to be also a task force. It should be taken on a war footing to reunite families, because they are emotionally disturbed. When they get together, they will feel comfortable. There should be a task force then further that will generate livelihood for the restarting the lives of those affected. And I put up there's the last one, but this is the first one and very, very important. What's most important is the awareness of the people. And I'm happy that NIDM has taken a lead in doing this. All right. With this, I present you for myself for the questions. Thank you. Yeah, questions, please. Yeah, please. Questions, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, someone has raised their hand, so we can let them ask their question.
Please. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, please tell me. No? No, this is still lost connection. This problem we have. Yeah, questions, please. Sorry for the inconvenience. Network चला गया यहाँ पे.
Dr. Aftab,
I'm not
thank you very much for your detailed presentation.
relay that question to me.
Hello.
Anybody who can hear that question, can you
Dr. Aftab, thank you very much for your presentation. Actually, I am living in Pondicherry, the very coastal zone. Actually, we are frequently getting all these
Can you all hear me?
Sir,
cyclones.
we can hear you.
This is despite having this arrangement for dual connections. Okay. One minute.
Shrikant
Yeah,
sir, I would
questions can I have?
request you to put the question on chat box if
Here,
we are not audible.
yeah, I can hear you all. Please repeat the question. Mitra sir.
Yes, sir, Dr. Aftab. Are you? Am I audible? Sir, thank you for your detailed presentation. Actually, I am living in Pondicherry, the very coastal zone. We are frequently facing cyclones as well. Even we have had the tsunami devastations. Actually, because of nowadays we are really watching all over the world, all over in these tropical zones. We are really watching and major devastation happening all over the different parts of the world during in these tropical zones. Mainly the massive raining, very heavy raining that causes a lot of losses for the life as well the properties and many damages. So are we prone to have such kind of massive raining? We are living in India in the both west or eastern coast.
Yes. Both. Global climate scenario, as per IPCC's report, all our weather animation wherein we are having winds in Delhi, which are coming from west. These are the winds from the desert. They are very harsh. Okay, generally, this is a pleasant time actually in Delhi. Otherwise, this changes. So what we are seeing is that the events of basically are going to be extreme weather events are going to be more frequent. They are going to be more severe. So cyclones also, right? Would be severe, and then that frequency, higher frequency is very clearly seen. Arabian Sea, we never used to have so many cyclones. We are having El Nino effect is there. El Nino has started in Pacific Ocean, right? And this is altering the global wind patterns and other. That's it's believed that it's this summer over India we are also going to have hard times in terms of weather. So your question, specific answer is yes. We will have severe weather events, right? And certainly when it comes to precipitation, it's going to be severe.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm also having one more basic question.
Yeah,
Really, during these cyclone warnings, we are watching in the news channels or as well in the communication systems. In these all harbors, they are raising the different types of warning systems and different numbers of warning numbers. Of they are raising some kind of flagging. So, in what way we can understand and we can communicate to the unknown people?
That yellow orange. Okay, this is one part of it. Whenever this is there, an impending cyclone is there, first IMD issues warnings, and this is passed on to collector's office. Now the collectors then passes on to taluka level, it is passed on to first class judicial magistrate, it is passed on to all the panchayats. Now, at this particular stage, the information is then disseminated both on radio, on TV, as well as panchayat takes a special case wherein they send people beating the drums and telling them, please move to safer places. Now, this arrangement is there. Now, the issue that comes over here is that many times we sentimental on many things and worldly things, safer places. And the problem only in India, during Katrina's case, even in US, there were so many people who were reluctant to move out. Okay, so this is basically the mindset that we can only do that by making people more and more aware of what cyclones are. Now, if you see the recent cyclones that occurred on the east coast of India, and you see the casualty, the fatality, how many people have died? All right, but you look at some 10, 15 years or 20 years before, the number of people, the deaths were enormous. Okay, then large number of people had died. So this is in a way advancement and a positive thing about the systems.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any more questions from participants?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please.
In Pondicherry and etc. region in the current year.
Yeah. You can repeat the question because it was not
Any
audible
reason
for
for
some
that?
time. No, I see. Please repeat your question. It was not audible for some time.
Scanty rainfall in Pondicherry region.
Yeah.
What is the reason for that? Is
Okay.
it due to the global warming, or is it due to Andaman Nicobar Islands getting into some kind of erosions? What is the reason for it?
Yeah. If you see in the times to come, we are seeing a change of patterns, right, in the winds. Right. Now, this wind pattern, exactly whether it's because of local factors or it is because of faraway factors, for example, El Nino, Pacific Ocean, all right, we really do not know. And on account of that, exact reasons, it is not possible to attribute exact reasons. One approach to get to this particular thing is that do numerical modeling, and through only numerical modeling, control experiments, we can find out. But otherwise, simply it is not possible based on descriptive charts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, any more questions? International one participant is from France. Basically, she's of Indian origin, but she's in France. Queries, please. Yeah.
So should we move ahead with the
I think
valedictorian
so.
list then?
Yeah, I think you are right. We should validatory function. Yeah, we have with us Shipra, Vice Dean Academics of School of Earth, Ocean, Atmospheric Sciences, because Dean has been called by Vice Chancellor's office, right? So can I? Yeah, you can call upon Dr. Anthony Vegas, Vice Dean SCOS, Goa University. Shipra, Dr. Anthony Vegas.
Sir, I think you should introduce him as I am not in a position
Okay,
to
fine,
introduce.
fine.
So
Yeah, thanks, Libra. Okay, thanks. Okay, dear participants and resource persons and all those attending this course. Now we have with us Dr. Anthony Villegas, who is Vice Dean Academics of School of Earth, Ocean and Atmospheric Sciences. Professor Rigonkar, who was supposed to address you, has been called by Vice Chancellor's office. And as a result of this, just some half an hour before, we had to look for a substitute for Professor Rigonkar. Professor Dr. Anthony Vegas has readily accepted. Of course, he was also involved in some other commitment of his. He was director of Students Welfare Program also. Okay, may I call upon Dr. Anthony Vegas to take over?
A very good afternoon to the participants of this workshop. I understand that the title is Risk Assessment and Disaster Management in Coastal Areas. India having a very long coastline, especially the state of Goa having about 105 kilometers. Besides all other places, the coast have always been vulnerable to various vagaries of nature. And in this context, one has to see the earth as a dynamic. So if one understands that the earth is a dynamic planet, then one would be able to appreciate, especially we geologists, we appreciate and we are able to see that there are, as part of the evolution of the earth, there are changes that have happened, are happening, and will continue to happen. So as geologists, we are not very much alarmed at this kind of situation. However, because it sort of affects our life and livelihood and the place we stay, especially people at the coastal areas, we have to look at the risk assessment and measures to take care of any disaster that could be impending. Having said that and told you that the earth is dynamic, we have various instances around the world, and especially in India, which I can quote and tell you, of how the climate has changed over a period of time. Jaisalmer that we see today is a desert. If you go to a place called as Akal, there you have fossilized wood. What does that tell you? That tells you that at one point of time in the Earth's history or in the history of that region in Jaisalmer, there was luxuriant vegetation. Likewise, in our museum, we have a sample of coal from the Arctic Ocean. That again tells you that there was a luxuriant kind of vegetation in the Arctic region at that point of time. Okay, so these things, this evidences that we have again bolster the argument that the earth is dynamic. If some changing is part of the earth's some part of the earth's evolution, as we would call it. Now, when we're looking at more specifically at the coastal areas, besides development or very irrational thinking on our part, for example, if we were the floodplains are known so that they can take care of overflooding at that point of time, but we find that we require to have a house right on the beach or right close to the beach. So we will construct a massive hotel, or we will construct some big will take its course. At some point of times in this floodplain, you will have disasters. So these things are also, besides the climate change that is happening, it is also sometimes or many a times related to our irrational kind of thinking. During your 6 hours that you have spent in understanding this course, you have had lectures on oil spills and marine biodiversity and mangroves and cyclones and hazards. So these kind of topics have given you broadly a very broad understanding of issues that are related to coasts more specifically. But besides this, one also has to understand how things have happened in the past. When we talk about climate change, for example, and we look at places like Rajasthan, about 12,000 years back, what we could call as prehistoric times, there have been evidences which show that the local farmers, because of long dry spells and on the contrary, long wet spells, they had different kind of cropping patterns. The same is the case in the Vijayanagar region in South India. So people as early as 12,000 years back, they could understand and appreciate and also more importantly come alive to the situation and take care of. One has to see from this kind of examples. When one looks at sea level rise, which is a very common kind of thing that people talk, from 1880 to about 2020, if you see, there's a sea level rise of about 226 millimeters. If you count 226 millimeters, it may not look much. But when you are right on the coast and when you are at 0 meters or just half a meter above sea level, then it makes a difference. And what we are now observing is because of tourism, especially in the state like Goa, where there is a heavy sort of a pressure from the tourism industry to cater to tourists who this kind of issues of flooding or a slight change in the sea level create issues. From this 6 hours that you all have gone through, I believe and I trust that you would have learned many a thing or have got more enriched in solving issues related to disasters that could be impending, and also have a broader idea so that you will be able to propagate this kind of thoughts and what could be an initial kind of solution to a problem at quick pace. And if you spread that message around, I think that this course would have what was set up at the beginning. Thank you very much.
Anthony, he made it last minute. I pulled him from his directorate. He's handling two directorates that's being devised in. Thank you very much. Over to Shipra, please.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for the valedictory concluding remarks. We would like to call Dr. Nikita for the final vote of thanks for the.
Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Shipra, this for final vote of thanks, it has been entrusted to me because of Nikita being called again in the Vice Chancellor Secretariat. It's on my shoulders now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We have
Welcome,
had,
sir.
we have had now 3 days, basically nearly 6 hours of our understanding. The NIDM and Goa University has made to give you a glimpse of various aspects of coastal disasters, right? And everything cannot be covered. I, as in the valedictory function of this speech, Professor Anthony Vega said that you should convey it to others. Also, please build up, okay, your knowledge. If you want, you can also get assistance from NIDM and from us, okay, so as to have a kind of a approach from the people that yes, these are the things we should know, and these are the precautions, preventive measures, and the preparations that has to be done in the event if we have to face a particular disaster. So that's very important, and I expect the participant to take up this. This is the primary aim. NIDM is relentlessly working this awareness, okay, so that the impact of disasters on livelihood, on life is minimum. And if this is minimum, then that's the way we can. IDM, okay, I take privilege to deliver vote of thanks for this 3 days of training program on risk assessment and disaster management. At the outset, I sincerely thank Sri Rajendra Ratnuji, IS Executive Director of NIDM, and our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Goa University, Professor Harilal Menon, for giving us this opportunity to host this program. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Savita Kerkar, who just got in because our Vice Chancellor had to move abroad on short notice. I express my gratitude to Professor Santosh Kumar sir, JDRL, for his support and support that was done in this program. I would like to thank all invited speakers, Dr. Glenn Burde, Dr. Hello, can you all hear me now? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, and we can see you also.
Yeah. Sorry for the disruption. Network is it has been a really a serious hiccup for us over here. Yes, I should appreciate the efforts of Mr. Vivek Kumar and as well as Mr. Ali Haider for being with me for all through while. Yes, Shipra Das was also with me for contributing for this program. I helped. I thank all these three for their continuous support. Mr. Vivek Kumar had been almost, I think, on an hourly basis with me on the net, contributing to the success of this program. Yeah, then I also have to certainly thank Dr. Chanda and for all this program. Whenever I was on some other aspects of Goa University, they did take care of many things. Okay, and that contributed positively towards this program. Yes, the most important component now is the participants, and I thank all the participants who are here right now and who had been with us for this particular program. Okay, I thank them all. Okay, with this, I have to say this. Yes, with this, I finish my thanking. Jai Hind, and thank you very much. Okay. Shifra. Vivek Kumar साहब,
हो गया सर.
Sharma साहब, Mr. Vivek Sharma.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
would you like to say something?
No, sir. No, sir. It's fine. And we are ending the
Yeah.
program. Thank you, sir.
So we close this program. All right. Thank you, one and all. Would you like to take snapshots of people? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All participants, please put on their videos. Participants, please put on their videos so that photographs can be taken. You continuously click photographs. With this, we close the program. Jai Hind. God bless you all.